Hi there, this is Terry, and welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. In this chat, I've got JJ Villard, who's going to share how he ended up creating this sometimes cute, but mostly shockingly grotesque JJ Villard's FairyTales for Adult Swim, which just premiered a few days ago, so go check it out. JJ graduated from CalArts back in 2005 and then immediately went to work for DreamWorks, working on Shrek 3 and 4, Monsters vs. Aliens, Peebody and Sherman, and Trolls, all of which are pretty much a 180 from what he's doing now. In fact, he's going to share what led him to quit DreamWorks and pursue projects more in tune with his personal style of animation. So since then, he's worked at Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and done freelance with pretty much every other studio out there. And some of the projects he's better known for include Party Legends, Uncle Grandpa, The Ridiculous King Star King, and of course, JJ Villard's FairyTales. So let's jump right into the chat. Hi, JJ. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing today?
What's up, dudes? How's it going?
It's all right. It's all right. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. We're in quarantine. We are the cockroaches of quarantine in the animation business. We're the only people that have survived in show business.
I'm going to consider myself a cockroach now from now on.
Yeah.
I do want to talk all about your new show with Adult Swim, but first,
Sure.
you've got a ton of credits to your name, like editor, writer, animator, cinematographer, producer, etc. Before we get into all that, where did the journey begin for you? Where did this all start?
I mean, the very seed of it all was in high school. I went to LACMA with in a summer camp. I think I was like a freshman, and I was on this bus with this guy named John Teton, who was an animation teacher at Florida University, and I was like, "You teach animation?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You can be taught how to do that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Can you teach me?" And he's like, it never occurred to him to have. This is so strange. I haven't said this story in fucking like 2 decades, so this is really weird. But it never occurred to him to have to do private tutoring with animation, and so we just went ahead and started doing it at my high school, and that was the very beginning of my animation, and
Nice.
We did some stop motion with I got a pack of marshmallows and some jelly donuts, and like the fucking marshmallows went in the middle of the jelly donuts and came out the top, and we were using a lunchbox to do that. And I don't know if you know what a lunchbox is.
Yeah,
but,
it's an old thing that can kind of help you with the frames and stop motion.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what it was. So I recorded it on VHS tape, and I would show it to people and make my own sound effects while it was happening. So like when the marshmallow went across the screen, I was like, and then when it went through the jelly donut, I was like, yeah. And I did this for like my whole freshman class, which was like 65 kids, and it was pretty funny. But
wow,
that was the beginning.
Confidence.
Yeah. It was fun.
I love that your journey literally started on a bus going somewhere. But when did you decide to really pursue this seriously as a career? What was that point for you?
Well, that was like, I think that was around sophomore year of high school. I was just like, I can't do a lot of shit except draw. So I was like, I'm gonna go to art school. Went to art school at Otis for a year. Then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I want to focus on. So then I applied to California Institute of the Arts for the character animation program, and that's when I was like, okay, cool. This is awesome. This is more me. And then it was in CalArts that I noticed, out of a class of 45 people in character animation major, only 4 or 5 were getting work, which is a really low ratio. So that's when I zeroed in on I gotta find fucking work right out of college to pay back for this shit. Because college then was $35K a year, and it's gotten way worse than that now.
So what was that first gig that you got right out of college then?
The very first job I got right out of college was at DreamWorks Animation. And it was like, I couldn't believe I got the job. It was only me and one other kid at CalArts that got the position, and it was a storyboarding position. I got put onto Shrek 3. My friend Dave Derrick, he got put on to Madagascar, I believe. Yeah, that was it. That was the beginning. And I thought I was in heaven until the third year, when I realized how miserable the directors and art directors seemed. And I realized, what the fuck? I'm at the pinnacle of animation at DreamWorks Studios, and I was starting to hate it.
Why do you think they were miserable? Like, what were you seeing that showed that they were miserable?
Well, what happened is like, when you go to DreamWorks animation studio, it's very corporate. And I just came from the most liberal school, maybe in the world, where, you know, nudity was common at CalArts, and it didn't matter if like students walked around naked or not. It was all considered art, and it was just mayhem at CalArts, and then thrown into suit and tie, like very strict and just like a very corporate setting. And another thing that I noticed at DreamWorks was like, I didn't realize people, and I should have, cared about money that much. And that was another thing that was like a culture shock, was just like, I thought we were all here for art, but that is by no means the case.
We're here for money, actually. Wait, so
yeah.
You just told me that there was extremely low rate of getting a job out of school, and you were one of two people that went to DreamWorks. Why do you think you, out of everybody else, got hired as a storyboard artist right away?
Because I pretty much noticed it at the end of my freshman year, how low the ratio was. Yeah. So the fear and the panic started around sophomore year, when I was just like, fuck, I got to get a job. You know, and so that's pretty much what I noticed. I started really just saying, okay, I can be this like edgy kind of guy, but one thing that's going to differ from me is I am going to be prolific, and I'm also going to keep that edge. So I'm not just like one of the animation nerds in my class, because there's guys that, like, you know, they really praise Glenn Keane and like and James Baxter and like all these fucking gnarly animator dudes. That wasn't my thing. I was into Beavis and Butthead. I was into South Park. It didn't even look like Mike Judge really knew how to do animation, and that's what made, I think, Beavis and Butthead's pilot so funny, was the animation was so shitty.
So you like zeroed in, you like worked really hard, got this like storyboarding skill, and then nailed it. So and then you're at DreamWorks, and you're like, hey, everybody here's miserable. I need to figure out how to be happy myself. But then how do you go from DreamWorks to something like King Star King, or, you know, JJ Villard's FairyTales, which is the exact opposite style of what you had developed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it by no means was it easy, but it was just like that prolific work ethic that I had just went into like, okay, what is out there in animation that I love? And there was a show called Korgoth made by Aaron Springer, who's like one of the main dudes on SpongeBob. And Korgoth came out as a pilot for Adult Swim when I was working on Shrek 4. And when I saw Korgoth, I was like, holy shit. You can see it on YouTube. It's fucking bizarre, and it's about a barbarian, and it was violent and funny, and the animation style was awesome. And I was just like, where was this made? And it was, sure enough, it was at Adult Swim. And I was like, all right, I need to fuck with these Adult Swim people. And so you just gotta like network, meet people. I mean, it's all important, you know. It's just like it's just the game of show business.
So tell me the story of how your FairyTales came to be then.
Well, that happened by I guess I gave Mike Lazo, the creator of Adult Swim, a zine of mine that was based off of my sketchbook. And I guess he like looked through the zine, and he saw this one page of mine that had a drawing of the word Snow White done in like a kind of like Disney but horror style. And there was a rabbit who was kind of evil, and like some cat robots. I don't know. It was just like just another one of my fucking weird sketchbook pages. And he called up the execs at Adult Swim and he just said, I want JJ Villard to base a cartoon off of this drawing. And then
What?
I got in contact. Yeah. And I got in contact with him and he's like, what do you want to call it? And I was like, let's call it JJ Villard's FairyTales. And he's like, all right, let's go. And that's how it kind of moved. It really moved quick once he gave me the thumbs up.
What the heck? That's so random. So how long has this series been in development from that initial sketchbook page that you thought to share?
From the sketch, yeah, that sketchbook page, it went to like, we did the script in about a month. We wrote 3 different outlines. Adult Swim picked one. Then we wrote the script off the outline that they picked, and then from there I storyboarded the script. And part of like storyboarding the script, I was just like, I said to myself, okay, here's the thing. Adult Swim already knows me. They know I'm fucking, I deliver. If I double the amount of storyboards for this pilot, maybe I can skip the animation process and go from storyboards to series. And that's what happened. I did like over 1,500 boards for an 11.5-minute cartoon, where usually for an 11.5-minute cartoon, you get around 900 storyboards. So I did about 1,500, handed them in, and Adult Swim was like, fuck yeah. And I said, hey, that's a lot of storyboards you got in your hands. What if we just go right to series? And they gave me the thumbs up.
I hope that's what it says. Like, there's a big stamp that says "fuck yeah" right on your storyboard.
Seriously, oh man, it was just like, you know, it was a chance.
So give me a pitch for JJ Villard's FairyTales for somebody who hasn't heard of it or hasn't seen, well, it hasn't come out yet. So.
Oh, okay, Jesus. I guess it's just like it's the grimmest of the grim fairy tales that we put together. We went and tried to deliver like a whole new perspective on what the fairy tales could be, and it was really challenging to do that. But I think we delivered highly. So I give it A-.
A-. Oh my gosh. So what's the weirdest thing that you have included in an episode that somebody can look out for?
Holy shit. I mean, each episode is absolutely
can you give an example different. Of something?
I mean, for each episode, I feel like there's like high and low marks. I mean, with Goldilocks, I mean, spoiler, her Goldilocks get ripped off, her head. So that's pretty terrible. With Boy Punzel, we flipped the Rapunzel and named it Boy Punzel. You know, he's trapped in a dungeon in a tower like in the original cartoon, and to survive, he has to eat the blackheads off the witch's back. With Little Red Riding Hood, you know, she's carrying a basket of narcotics when she's skipping through the forest, not a basket of food. So she's a drug smuggler. With Pinocchio, I mean, to be honest, I'm just so happy John Casser, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, did the voice of Pinocchio, because Tales from the Crypt is my favorite TV show of all time. And to have John Casser do that voice was just like a dream come true. So yeah, and on.
Other than storyboarding, what was your major involvement in the series? Like, what did you spend 99% doing?
Well, part of the thing is with Adult Swim is that the budgets are extremely low, because you got to sacrifice adult cartoons and just having the freedom to do those with a very low budget. I don't even know if I should be saying that, but fuck it. Compared to like what Cartoon Network cartoons get from the kids side, yeah, we get a lot lower budget. So being that, the creator has to wear a lot of hats. Yeah. So I'm the director, the art director, the animation director, and the character designer and storyboard artist.
Well, there you go. Wow, that's cool. It sounds like you don't have any time to breathe.
It was 12-hour days.
Oh my gosh. So I hope you're taking a little bit of a break right now.
Actually, no. I jumped like right as we finished. Netflix wanted to do a TV show, so I honestly didn't take a break at all. So yeah, I
Oh
just
wow,
went right into
you're just going and
working
going.
with Netflix.
One thing I
Yeah.
wanted to chat about you, and I think you're the perfect person, is kind of the two different animation worlds. You know, I'm in animation school right now. Studying at Sheridan College,
Oh,
and
sick.
one thing that everybody kind of idolizes is like the Pixar and Disney and like the James Baxter, et cetera, of animation, because everybody
Yeah.
wants to have like perfection, amazing stuff. And then you've experienced that with DreamWorks, but now you've also,
Yeah.
you know, you've got a whole bunch of series under your belt that are completely opposite. Like in
Right.
FairyTales, you have characters not even walking; they're just kind of like hopping around on the screen up and down.
Yeah.
So you worked at both kind of sides. What's your take on this, like as for animation as a medium in general?
Yeah, I mean, look, some people love that heavy corporate atmosphere. You know, it wasn't for me. Some people thrive in it. It was just too slow paced. It takes 3 years to do one feature. More than likely, the feature's gonna suck shit, like it did in Shrek 3. I spent 2 years on Shrek 3, and then the end result was just not a good movie. You know, I wasn't happy with it at all. And not only that, like I only got a couple scenes in the movie, and I was just like, wait a minute. It was like a rekindling of my whole thought process of animation. So then I had a lot of friends go to TV, and I was meeting up with them on the weekends, and we're having drinks, and they seemed like they had more energy and they were more happy than me. So I was like, I got to check out this TV shit. And sure enough, I just got involved with TV, and it's just like, it's seriously like punk rock, man. I feel
Yeah.
like it's so fast paced. It's a bullet train with no brakes. And it's just like, you got to get the shit done. It gets looked at by standards and practices, but you're not going to get the insane amount of notes that you do get at DreamWorks. Yeah.
So animation style wise, do you have any opinion over like you know, smooth, amazing Disney animation versus?
I mean, dude, I like it all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just you know, with modern animation, like I I haven't seen Onward yet, but I did see Frozen 2. I saw Frozen 1. I thought Frozen 1 was better. Um, but I try to really just watch everything that comes out, unless it's Angry Birds 2. I can't put myself through that.
Yeah, that one actually
But like
pretty good.
it was really
No,
okay.
I
I
haven't
gotta check
seen
it
it,
out.
but
My
just from the previews, there's some funny jokes that I was surprised at. So
no shit.
how are you personally trying to push animation as like an art form or medium? Like I know you're kind of the jokes you're telling are like really adult, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of the scenes are pretty graphic. Like what is in your mind when you're trying to push out what you want to see in the world?
Yeah. That's actually a good question. I guess like I can't help it. When we're in the writer's room and we're writing episodes, we're just basing it off of what we laugh at in that writer's room. You forget who's gonna act and voice what you're writing. So it it can be kind of nerve wracking when the actual actor reads one of your lines and it's a vulgar, terrible line. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things is about to fucking eat some blackheads and has to make chewing noises and do that shit. But I guess that's what makes the pushes the envelope. But yeah, I just think cute little charming characters doing gnarly shit is funny. I just really just want to make people laugh.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I like that you're
Yeah.
just it's kind of just raw from what you want to put out there. You're not thinking about how somebody else is gonna
Yeah.
experience it. So what's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. Well, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
There are some limitations. I mean, we did get plenty of notes from standards and practices saying you've gone too far.
I can't
You
even
know, you
imagine what
can't.
those must have been.
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, like they told us when we started FairyTales that we can't have any religious jokes, no sex jokes, and no fart and puke jokes. So we went into the writer's room knowing that. And I was okay with that because I feel like limitations can make a cartoon funnier. If you look at Ren and Stimpy, the first and second season, there were so many limitations, and look how funny that show is. It's like, it's so good, those first 2 seasons.
So you mentioned Netflix, but what's next for you now after the premiere of JJ Villard's FairyTales?
Yeah. So the premiere is going to be May 10th. I guess what's going to happen is Adult Swim just sees how it does, and then they get back to me if I'm going to get a second season. There is rumors of a King Star King special.
Those are good rumors.
Yeah, that's good. So that would be like something like a half-hour special from what I was told. And then, right now I'm working on a new series for adult cartoons at Netflix. Nice. as well. So that's just in development. It's on early stages, and we'll see. All I could say about that is it's something that's never been done in animation. And not to say like, oh, it's a new medium or whatever. I just mean story-wise, it's something that has not been done yet, and I'm surprised no one has not pitched it. Yeah.
So thinking back on kind of your career and all the stuff that you've produced and how you went to school and started on a bus talking to an animation teacher, what's your best advice for somebody else who kind of want to follow a similar path to you, where they're making their own stuff and it's pretty gnarly and they're getting opportunities?
Yeah. Well, I could say a couple things. Like, this might sound completely trite and superficial, but seriously, you got to follow your own dreams, and that is it. And when your soul and your gut says, this is fucking boring, I am not looking forward to going to work today. Yeah. That's a big sign, and if that starts to happen, for young people in college and graduating in their 20s, you've got time to change that. I'm 39 years old. I've done a lot in this industry, it's just like, you never know. Look, when King Star King finished, it was just sitting there, and the show was canceled, and I was just like, fuck. I'm no one to just sit around and let a show be canceled. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that cartoon. So I just came up with that idea. I'm going to start submitting this to film festivals. Wait a minute. I'm going to submit this to the Emmys. Who cares? So I, on my own, submitted this to the Emmys, and look what happened. It ended up being the first Emmy Award-winning cartoon at Adult Swim. Out of all the cartoons they made, like, that was the first one. And you just never know. So you just got to go with your gut. Yeah. Listen to your soul,
So listen to your soul, go with your gut. I think that's some really good advice. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you'd like to share in this chat as we kind of wrap it up?
Well, I mean, it's important not to just get stuck in the bubble of animation. Like, have some vices. Like I do a lot of fine arts. I do a lot of illustration. I do other shit besides cartoons. Cartoons it's my favorite medium by far. There's no medium like it. It takes so much to do a good cartoon, but really just branch yourself out of just doing cartoons and try to make a habit out of it. It's hard to do extra stuff, but really try to push yourself.
Excellent advice. Well, unless there's anything else you'd like to share, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a really insightful listen to hear how your journey's progressed.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And Sheridan's a badass school. I know so many people from Sheridan. So fucking kick ass there, and you'll be fine if you just there's a lot of good artists that come out of that school.
Nice. That's encouraging to hear. Thank you. And if you're listening, if you'd like to follow JJ's work or check out what he's working on, I guess you can do so by looking him up on Instagram, and I'm going to include the link to that in the description of this podcast. And be sure to look out for JJ Villard's FairyTales, which is premiering on Adult Swim on May 10th. Make sure you check that out. And that's all for now. So thank you so much. Goodbye.